So when I saw this broom in Florida, I immediately had memories of my grandmother in Puerto Rico as I was as I was growing up, and I was just pretty much an infant. I was below 5 years old, 6 years old, somewhere there. And my grandmother would say, Paquito, tienes que barrer el batey. And basically what she was asking me to do was go out and sweep the courtyard, the backyard. But the backyard was made out of dirt. It was a ground that had been sort of packed from walking and stuff like that. So I would argue with her once in a while, as I tended to be argumentative. I said, why should I go clean the batey? The batey is dirty. It's dirt, Grandma. And she would say, even dirt has sometimes to be swept. Of course, she had more than that, because the chickens that were running around and stuff like that would do their thing on there, and so you really constantly had to keep it clean so you didn't track it into the house. But her statement to me, even dirt has to be sometimes swept, which meant absolutely nothing to me. And as far as I'm concerned, my grandmother wasn't too smart. She was illogical. It was just dirt. She was asking me to do dirt. So it reminded me of that. And so this broom I brought with me back north in my car, and I figured that I would use it in teaching. And then I met a group of, there was a couple, a Japanese couple that were visiting the Zen Peacemakers. And from that same woman in Florida that I was moving north with the help of the daughter, who were really closing the house, this woman had lived all over South America with her husband, who worked for Uniroyal, and they lived in Panama. And in Panama, there's an island called the San Blas Island, and the San Blas Indians, and the Indians do molas, and these molas are designed mostly animal, and the way that the San Blas Indians do it is cloth on cloth. So the way they do a design is they have a major cloth, and they put another cloth in, another cloth, and that's how these are. And she had about 500 of these molars that now are sold in Macy's, because they no longer do them like this by hand. They bought in sewing machines and all of that. And so, but these are the originals. And so I inherited some of the originals, and it occurred to me that maybe the wife of my friend, who is a great person who did sewing from Japan, would make me a bag for my broom. And she did. She made this beautiful bag, which includes molas and includes part of one of his robes. So this part here is a piece of an old robe that he had, and she made it very well with a wonderful zipper. And I told her what the story was, and there's a zipper in the bottom, very well made. But then I said something to her, which is part of, I think, of this teaching. I said, what I really need is to maintain that we keep the bristles from really getting too loose and losing their form. I'd like you to make a skirt for this. And her English was limited. So she went to the dictionary and she looked up the word skirt in Japanese. And what the dictionary told her was that a skirt was this. So she literally made a woman's skirt to fit into my broom. So it's a lesson on how you communicate, and she made this beautiful thing from a piece of her clothing. So I have a female skirt for my broom, which I think fits wonderful, but it also fits the whole issue of how you communicate. Now, what she did was she basically took this and she lined it And she put basically the story in Japanese kanjis and how it had come to pass, and then she put inside the figures that connote like angels, the messengers. The word angel originally, even in Greek, means messenger, but these are figures in Buddhism, and this one is pretty much a caricature of Manjuri Bodhisattva, who cuts through all confusion. And supposedly he once walked and he cut through a mountain path, and he cut a mountain so that he could get by. And this other figure, I'm not too sure totally what it is, but it's also one of these symbolic figures, almost look more Christian than anything else. So she did a marvelous job with this, and so this is my teaching tool, which I will use when I start teaching when I turn 80. So I'm going to be 73, January 8th. So in 7 years from now, I'll be able to use my broom and the case and everything else and I'll begin to teach. And that's that story.